face up to the choices you've made and then live with them. I've had clients that literally worked 15 or 20 hours a day, and they worked, 7 days a week, and they were never home. And so their kids kind of grew up. I've had people that are very successful in the television and movie business say, my kids are grown and I didn't raise them. I really don't know them very well because I was always at work. And they say that with a little bit of sadness, So, in the end, what's important to you? Is it important that I say, well, he was president of Warner Brothers, or he won 5 Oscars or 2 Emmys? Or is it important to you that you ended up having a good family and you raised, children that were, a positive force in the universe? What's important to you? A good exercise is to read obits. And it never says he died with 3-second homes, 2 Mercedes, and 5 Rolex watches. It says, the best ones say, surrounded by his family. He actually had a family, he had people that he cared about and people that cared about him. It just depends on what is it you want. And then you just make those decisions. I know a person, and I've got to be a little careful here because I know they're not a person I know terribly well, but I know them a bit. Both the husband and the wife were very successful, and it turned out that they had a child that was autistic, and they did well financially, and they lived in one of the best neighborhoods in LA, a very famous neighborhood. And they ended up selling that house and moving into a decent neighborhood, but hardly as prestigious, because of 2 reasons. They wanted to work less, and they wanted to take more of their financial assets and devote it to getting their child the best services and teaching and care that they could get that child. And one of them was from another country, and I remember one day I was at these people's house, and the fellow pulled out a couple pictures of back home, and it wasn't a third world country, I think we'd call it a developing country, and he showed me pictures of his relatives, who didn't have much compared to what he had, who always lived in this little town in the country he came from. And he said, he kind of was torn. He said, I think they have a better life than me. And I assure you, he had, if you're in the motion business, he had every award. He had everything you could want to have. He was a good guy. He had a good wife. He had good children. But, there was something about these people, his relatives, back in this small country, in this little town, who didn't have very much, but they somehow had each other, which it's very hard to have in a big city like this one, So it's what you want. Most people, if I ask them what they want, that I consult people in our business and in others, it's always revolves around more business or more money. That's the first thing they tell me. And then I tell them, if you just want to make money, that's honestly pretty easy. And I really don't have any interest in working with you. If you want to have a solid financial life and you want to have a good life outside of your business, then I am interested in working with you. But it just goes to show you how rampant that this idea of having money and stuff is. It's really not all that important, gang. Once you have enough to feed yourself and to, live in a safe place and have a car and so on and so forth, you kind of have enough. The other thing I want to say, because I hear this all the time, and it's very frustrating for me, people say, well, I don't have a choice. And the answer is you do have a choice. We all have choices. Some of them we don't want to make, some of them we don't want to face. But we do have a choice. You don't have to live where you live. You don't have to do what you do for a living. If you have a partner in life, you don't have to live with that partner. You have lots of choices. So face up to the choices you've made and then live with them, to say, okay, I've made a choice. I have a partner. And my partner has certain needs, and I'm going to have to compromise a little bit about what I want. And I've got children, and they have certain needs, so on and so forth. This idea that you have no choice is just what we tell ourselves to justify, what we're doing. It's dishonest, I think.